red, white, and blue football discussion where you can come and join us, have a rant about rubbish referee, can have a rant about games being postponed, the whole lot of it. We're live, and joining me as always, we've got Stephen and Charlie. And do you know something? From a weekend where not much football tended to happen, we've got loads to talk about. So, how are you both doing, lads?
Doing well.
Sharp intake of breath. Okay. This is gonna be good. This is gonna be good. You see, I've gone for the farcical bit, right? So that's my view. That's my sort of weigh in on this tonight. But I don't know. It's just like there's so much to talk about from the Liverpool Spurs game, and I think, you know, with you two both being Reds, I'm probably going to enjoy a little bit of this since you dropped points. But over to you. I'm going to shut up. I'm going to let you two to do the talking for a bit because I think both of you want to rant, and I think both of you, if truth be told, you know, even the team Liverpool picked today, I didn't feel was tremendously strong in midfield. They didn't have Van Dijk. So you're also a club that's in a similar position to those who have managed to get games called off because they didn't have enough players. And so we'll come on to that, I think, eventually. But go on, you have your say about the Liverpool game today because I thought it was a great game of football.
Well, you want me to start off just with some?
Go on, Charlie.
Observation.
Yeah, you look like you're biting at the bits here, Charlie.
Yeah,
so
I'll go on mute. All right, I'll go on mute, and I'll see you in 59 minutes.
Yeah.
To be fair, okay. I believe the result is the right result. Our defense was horrendous at some points today, where you saw how they were dismantled. Sometimes I was like in awe saying, you gotta be kidding me. It was so bad with some of with how Tottenham picked it apart sometimes. Other than that, you know, we also had Liverpool had some very strong moments too, where we had them against the ropes. You know, a couple of times where we could have had some goals too. It was more obvious, I think, on the Tottenham side that they could have had 2 or 3 more easily. We're just lucky that they're Tottenham, that they just blew their chances, and they could have easily had 4 this game, probably 5. But again, I think Liverpool, they blew their chances as well. The result, I think, is fair. Beyond that, Allison makes a huge mistake. The ref, I was not a fan of that ref at all. I'm used to scrappy games, especially when we play like Everton or whatever. I'm not used to scrappy games when we play Tottenham. Usually they're I just hope that Tottenham also brings this against when they play Chelsea and Man City. It seems like all these teams always stand up when they're playing Liverpool and they play their best game against Liverpool, and then they give points away to the other top 3 teams, you know? So I hope that that team, Tottenham, brings it for the other top to take some points away from them too. But let me just start off. Yeah, I'll leave it there for now.
Can I just pick up on the first one there? Yeah. And I'm going to name and shame because Paul Tierney, I didn't feel was consistently on a path for both teams. He rules up as he went along today. I felt it was a complete travesty that Robertson got sent off because I actually felt that Harry Kane, captain of England, should have been sent off for a very, very similar challenge. And actually, I think there was more malice in the Kane one than there was in the Robertson one. I felt he didn't keep up with what was going on in the game. I think there was a time. I think was it Jota who was challenged in the area, and I think he told Jurgen Klopp after the game that he'd actually stopped, and then he bought the challenge. Now, Klopp said he stopped because he was going to kick the ball. You can't.
It's
just a lack of understanding, and I've got to admit, I've not seen Tierney for a while. I thought he was out of his depth. I thought the game was too big for him, and I don't often say that about referees. What I would also add, I thought, and like I said at the start of the show, I thought Liverpool's midfield. I thought selecting Keita, Morton, and Milner kind of left you a little bit short. I think I would have started with Oxlade-Chamberlain, and I don't know. It's just a really odd performance for Liverpool. I know I mentioned it last week. The curse of me having Mane in me fantasy team. Again, he was he went missing, and it's frustrating me a little because actually
I wasn't so frustrated with Mane today as I was with Keita and some of the others that were just giving the ball away. We seemed to step too slow again, and it was with other people, not with Mane. I know what you feel. I usually am disappointed in Mane because he seems to be like in his own game sometimes. But I wish they picked a stronger. But the first thing I thought about that was, Klopp's doing rotation. With this fast group of games, you got to rotate them out. You got to get some people rest, and I understood that. But
well, can I twist that again? I know, Stephen, do you want to say something? Spurs have had 2 weeks off.
It's not just that. We've had we had the 4th positive COVID test, so we've got I don't want to go too much into the COVID thing because I just think it's too, political and stuff like that. I think we need to keep that away from the game.
Yeah.
But, they've got a policy, Liverpool, right? And they've got a policy in the Premier League. You can't play, you can't train if you've tested positive. That's it, right? So we had the 4th one in Thiago today. Our midfield was decimated.
Yeah.
Our defence, Charlie, what you said before, was struggling. The counter-attack of Tottenham, I'm not taking any away from Tottenham today because I thought Tottenham's counter-attack was spot on. They got it right virtually every time they went up, and I thought, good God, we're going to concede a goal here. But our midfield was weakened. We had the 18-year-old
Morton,
Morton. Do you know what? Right, to be fair to the kid, he played well. What he did, he did well. But I don't get the decision, and this is the manager. This is the manager. So the manager made the decision to put Morton on, right? Which was probably a baptism of. I think Gary Neville said it. Baptism of fire, right? In that game, the speed of the game, the way Tottenham come out and played was really, really good. Me personally, I think he'd have been better sticking someone like Oxlade-Chamberlain in there. I know, Red fans, I know there's a lot of you out there that don't like Chamberlain. I don't think he's first team quality myself. However, while Morton is going to be the future Liverpool, what I've seen in the short amount of time that he's been on the pitch, I don't watch the kids play, so I don't know what they're going to be doing. But even watching the kids play, you don't really know how they're going to adapt to the first team anyway until they get there. And what I've seen in the first team, he is going to adapt. He's really, really. His passing range for an 18-year-old kid, scary. It's absolutely scary. But I don't think the manager got it right in putting him on from the start. I don't think he done the right thing for the kid himself, his confidence. I don't think he done the right thing tactically because I think you've got more senior pros in there. And also, that's another thing why he got it wrong. Another reason why I think Oxlade-Chamberlain, like I say, he's not first team quality, but our midfield is decimated. We've got no Fabinho, we've got no Thiago, we've got no Henderson, right? Who have you got left? Milner, right? And the rest. So for me, you're sticking Chamberlain in there. Would it have been better? I don't know. I'm not going to say it's going to be or it wasn't going to be. When you stick Chamberlain there, at least he's got the experience of being in there and doing what he needs to do. Do you know what I mean? And it's just that whole thing. We lost the midfield throughout the whole game until he changed it in the second half. We were losing it in the midfield. We were just non-existent in the midfield. We were just losing it. Because Keita, for me, I'm sorry, I'd ship him off tomorrow. He's not good enough.
Yeah, not good enough. I agree.
He gives the ball away far too easily. He tries to do fancy things far too much when he doesn't have the ability to do it. No, Keita, you scored a great goal a few weeks ago, but that's all you've done in your time at Liverpool. He needs to go. Nice enough for it, I'm sure, but he needs to go. So when your midfield is so missing, your defence is going to get caught out, because what you get with Fabinho in the team, particularly with Fabinho in the team, is if your centre-half goes forward and tries to back up the attack, Fabinho comes back and he fills that gap. I don't think they were doing that. I don't think they were doing that enough. I think there was a bit of naivety between the two central defenders as well at times. You know, Konate had a great game in midweek. I thought he was good again today. Matip is a good defender, but neither of them have the ability or the confidence or the experience to lead the back line like Van Dijk does.
And on top of that, they were playing Alexander-Arnold way forward again. He was way up there. How many times was he caught 10 yards chasing their offense from behind? You know, how many times was Alexander-Arnold out of the play where he should have been, and Keita was covering his corner? I was like, what's going on here? You can't be playing him with that weakened midfield and that weakened and thus the weakened defense. You needed Alexander-Arnold pulling back more, not going up further.
I actually think both of you have been really magnanimous in both of you have said the same thing in so much of the fact that Spurs actually deserved the point from what was a good game of football, spoilt by here we go. Nick's in the chat. Nick's back.
I haven't seen you for a week, Nick, and now you're saying, really?
I think this is the point I was going to make, and this is something where I might have to drift into the fact that Spurs haven't played for now 2 weeks, right? So what their new manager has actually been able to do is actually coach his players in how he expects them to play within his system. He chose to start with Dele Alli today, which I do believe was Dele Alli's first start in the Premier League, I think since I think the first week of the season, something really, really long like that. So Dele Alli he plays exceptionally well, and I'm again, I think I've said before, I'm a big fan of Dele Alli. I think he's been badly done to by Mourinho. Yeah,
John, we come to that because I'm not having that.
I'm not having that either.
Get on with that.
But as much as you talk about Liverpool, actually Spurs stepped up.
There, you know,
he is, yeah. You see what he's doing? He's winding us up. I actually felt Spurs looked far more organised than they've done for an awful long time. Dyer looked half decent. Winks looked half decent. Ali looked as if he was back in the squad. And Harry Kane actually scored, which was a minor miracle because it's his first home goal of the whole season.
Of course he scored at home because Liverpool are there. Yeah. You know, like Charlie just said before, I don't know what it is with these teams. It's when they play against Liverpool, they bring up the game, but when they play Chelsea or Man City. And I reckon, do you know what? I'm not going to say it. No.
I'll tell you what. I'm going to push people across to the BBC Sport website because at present, what is absolutely amazing is they've actually got to have your say on this game still, and there's 2,728 comments at this present moment in time, and everybody in the whole of that forum is actually saying that Kane should have gone. If Robertson went, Kane should have gone. And I'm prepared to have that discussion. You know, Nick, I'll have the discussion with you. But actually, if you're going to send Robertson off for that, then Kane should definitely have gone for his. In my book, both of them should have been yellow carded. I don't think Robertson's was any worse than that. I really don't.
No, if you're going to yellow card Kane, you yellow card Robertson. And he did, to be fair to the referee, John, he was consistent in that. But what wasn't consistent was how VAR dealt with it, right? Yeah. So for me, I can't remember who it was on VAR tonight. I'm sure if you look it up there, John, while you're looking at other stuff there, you'll see it.
I'll try and see if I get it.
If you're going to go and revisit that, if you're going to tell the referee to go and revisit Robertson, which, by the way, I believe was a red card. It's a red card. I've got no qualms about it. He's done something wrong for me. In today's game, you can't do that. I mean, if you're going back to the 1990s or the 1980s, yeah, you're going to get away with it. You're not again. You're probably not.
It wouldn't be a booking. It would just not be a booking. It wouldn't be a booking. It's just like that. It's just a little bit of a taste of that.
It's a little bit of a tussle. Come on, lads, get up and get up.
Yeah.
But you can't judge it on you can't. But so what I think's happened there is they've judged Harry Kane on 1990s rules, and they've judged Andy Robertson's on today's rules. Yeah. And I've got a very good theory about this, and this is raging on Twitter as well, by the way. Right? You've got the captain of Scotland gets a red.
Yeah.
You've got the captain of England gets a yellow. And I'll tell you what, even Jamie Redknapp said it in his analysis tonight as well on Sky Sports. He said he has got the captain of England, and it does have a bit of a reputation on it. So, but I'm not going to say what it was or it wasn't. But
to be honest with you, if you have a look online, there's a picture of Kane sliding in, and I think Klopp described it. If the leg was planted, it would have busted his leg, right? And Andy Robertson actually was trying to get out of the way.
The studs were up.
Now, yeah, and also even Gary Neville, and I know I've said before, I do like Gary Neville's take on this, on what his whole views on football. But I think his line in his commentary was, "He's a lucky boy."
Yeah,
and I thought that's quite telling, isn't it? Like, you know.
Without a doubt, and it's good to see Nick, who's a Spurs fan, saying the same. You know, it's a straight red for him as well. And
it's
one of them. But to be honest with you, I think the biggest, hottest discussion point on VAR is going to be in the future is this whole, what did he call it? It's going to be a clear and obvious mistake. Well, can you tell me what you define a clear and obvious mistake as? Because we'll come to the other games in a minute, but we've seen the City Newcastle game. It was a blatant penalty. So how was that not clear and obvious mistake? There was, for me, a penalty for Liverpool, which was it was a blatant penalty on Jota. It just to say that you're slowing down to get draw the foul, when no, if you actually play the game and Jermaine Defoe come out and said it, you know, and other people came out. So Klopp said in his interview after the match, you know, he's stopping and slowing because you cannot run and hit the ball at the same time.
Yeah. I'm trying to find who was on VAR. I think it was Andre Mariner, which sums it up really. Because
I'm going to go to Nick here as well, and I think Nick brings a good, valid point here, because this point here, Nick, comes into the same realm as it's just early in the game, though, isn't it? With Harry Kane, do you know what I mean? It's early in the game, so do we really need to send someone off? Well,
yeah.
Hang on a minute. You're going to break someone's leg in the first 5 minutes, but then you're nearly going to break someone's leg in the 85th minute.
Yeah.
Which one's worse? What does the time on the clock have to be? And I agree with you, Nick. I think what you're getting at here is, no, Robertson didn't roll about. He was in mid-air, Kane hit him, he's jumped out, he's gone on the floor, and he was on the floor for a bit, but he wasn't rolling around doing 10 roly-polies, he wasn't going on the floor, he was like that. So he didn't look like he'd broke his leg.
Which again, we actually saw something very similar to that in the Leeds game yesterday, where one of the Arsenal players, and obviously they were, you know, the Granit Xhaka, and I know it's going off topic, but Xhaka again should have been sent off for something that was, if you go to VAR and you're actually looking at applying the rules consistently across a range of different games, these players should be getting pulled up for this. And actually Xhaka didn't. And then Leeds ended up getting somebody sent off simply because it was the same thing. And you couldn't actually ask for, you couldn't ask for a better example of, today where two very similar challenges end up with inconsistent refereeing. This is what VAR is meant to be actually getting rid of, and it isn't. And I find that so frustrating. I really do, because actually other countries seem to use VAR far more effectively than we do. You know, this season we've seen refs being asked to go across to the screen. in the ground. But all we know is when they get across to the screen, they're being told that your decision's wrong, change your decision. And I actually, they just need that consistency to come back. It's doing me.
I'm with you, John, on that. Charlie, sorry, I know you're about to. It looked like you're about to jump in, but I just want to jump on.
Yeah, good.
Nick's comment there, and I'll be honest with you, I don't know what irritated me more: Keita's passing or Harry Kane coming in and blatantly lying on Sky TV saying, "But I won the ball, though." You know, you didn't touch it, Harry. You didn't touch it. You might have touched it on your chest as you were going past it, but you took the man out. I'm sorry, mate, but that's wrong. But also,
Robert. I still think Robertson played the ball.
It's Sarah that's saying that. It's not Nick. So yeah. I'm with that. It's like I got the ball. It's no, you didn't get the ball.
Yeah. But Robertson actually played the ball within the movement of the tackle that he got sent off for, and you actually see him. He actually does that sort of the ball. Sort of I played the ball, and there was a completely different refereeing decision taken for something which I think was very, very similar. And I still feel that Kane was more out of control than Robertson.
Yeah, both. Well, Robertson was out of control in his head.
Yeah.
Kane was out of control with his movement. Right? Yeah. His passion made his movement that way, but he was more out of control through his movement.
I want to know why Conte didn't get a yellow. It seems like Klopp's the only one that got a yellow. He freaked out, yeah, but you see Conte freaking out as well during the game. He was going overboard as well. Why didn't he get a yellow?
Well, is Nick saying something here, right? Which is, I think he thinks if Robertson's foot was grounded, Kane would have gone. But what we got though is when it was Robertson, it was about the speed and the intent. The speed and the intent of Robertson is why that got overturned and Kane didn't. Well, Kane was sprinting. He was sprinting and he jumped in and he had his foot up, 6 studs showing, and it was higher than the ball could have ever been.
Yeah.
So for me, if you talk about speed and intent, for Robertson, speed and intent should have been there for Kane. But I want to say this, and I want to repeat myself, is the draw was the correct result. Because for all the controversy in that game, I just want to bring us back to the game itself a minute. The game for me was one of the best games I've watched this season. I thought Tottenham got the tactics absolutely spot on. The counter-attack at times, I thought, wow, we need to do something about that because otherwise, because when I get to half-time, I'm thinking, we could have been 3 or 4 down here because it was that much, they were breaking at us,
Yeah, there's a little piece of me that at the end there that thought we were actually going to pull off too, because we had some chances at the end, even with 10 men. I was like, are we going to pull this off? I was hoping so, but obviously it didn't. But I was actually a little bit hopeful instead of just saying, okay, kill the clock. I was actually hopeful because I was still thinking there was a chance that we could pull off a goal at the end.
Yeah. Nick saying he should have been 5-2. I like that banter. That's good.
Liverpool, I know, yeah.
You see, no one's hating on Conte because I think Conte has come in and done a great job with Spurs. They turned it down. And we'll look at the predictions in a bit because if we take the predictions and give Tottenham the 6 points for the games that they've got in, and I think I'm looking pretty good. But
of course, yeah.
I think he's done good, and I'll be honest with you, that performance from Spurs today, I was impressed with. I thought you took it to one of the best teams in the country, at least, if not the world, right? And you put up a display, and there's controversy, there's the penalties, there's the red cards, there's all that to talk about. But from a football and pure football point of view, I thought Spurs played well, and I thought they deserved the point today. I thought, fair play to you. I'm not gonna talk about Liverpool's defense or midfield or lack of quality in the midfield because I don't want to downgrade or what Spurs done today. I thought Spurs are moving in the right direction, and Conte with the back end of the of the club with some money. I think. Well, he's done it in. Was it Chelsea? He was at.
Yeah.
Done well there. So I think you've got a good manager there. It's.
Did you guys notice? Did you notice after the game how long Klopp was talking to Son after the game?
Yeah.
It was a long chat saying, "Hey, you want to join us in January? Come on over, buddy."
I know, but he has them same chats with Traore every time we play Wolves. I'm thinking, don't be saying that. He's a fast player, he causes problems, but he's not the right quality. With Son, though, Son was scary today. Really, really scary.
I think Son would fit in.
I think he was probably man of the match today.
Straight swap. Mane for Son. Go ahead, switch him.
Yeah, well, we're talking fantasy football later, but I'll be honest with you, I'm getting rid of Mane, man. He's going. He's 11 point something £1 million, and he's not earning me the points I want him to earn me. And there's like Maddison for 6.8 million, something like that I want to go and get it.
Yeah, I just have it noted as well, guys, because after a strong start, Charlie's had. Charlie was celebrating winning fantasy football at the end of October. Who's top for Christmas?
I opened up my big mouth. And now this guy's on top here.
Yeah.
Good job. We'll see how it ends out. Probably this guy in the end, right?
I played a free hit chip. I think Sarah did as well this week.
Sarah did as well.
Just as a way of trying to get a load of changes very, very late into my team.
How does it work with the games that didn't play? Because I have a lot of slashes. I have like 6 people that didn't get any points because the games got canceled.
They get
added later on.
I don't know.
No, what'll happen is they'll be added into like future game weeks. So this is where it probably. I know a lot of people have really celebrated. I know my father-in-law is one of them, where he had a really good week with Salah, because he triple captained him. But what you need to watch is like what you'll find. There'll be a few weeks in the season now where, because of these games that have been lost, there's going to be like a double game week. So you're going to get some players for the likes of Spurs who've already lost a lot of games. Burnley, another one. So as they try to catch up the games that they're behind, they're going to be playing 2 or 3 games in a week, but it'll count as the 1 week in their fantasy. So it might be just one of them ones. Just keep on top of it and keep looking, because it does become quite deceptive, and it does come back and bite you late in the season. Because I think a couple of seasons ago I was top of our family league, and I got bitten at the end just because there were I'd already done my triple captain, my bench boost, and all this. I was flying high, and then the last few weeks there was that catch up at the end of the season where some teams were playing 2-3 times a week, and I just beat us.
I've only did the triple captain. I'm not sure what the bench boost or the free hit does, so I haven't used them. I'll have to learn.
The bench boost, Charlie, if you use the bench boost, when you got your players on the bench, what you'll do is them points that those players earn in that week, they go towards your overall score for that week.
Oh, but my bench is horrible, so.
It is at the minute, but just watch. Wait.
I'll tell you what you can do then. I'll tell you what you can do. I'm probably shooting myself in the foot here. You can use your free hit, right? So you can get as many you can do as many transfers as you want. So you could just like swipe out all of your substitutes, get better ones in, leave on the bench with your bench boost, and get the points that way. The week after, it'll all revert back to normal. Whereas this week I used my last wild card, so I did a load of changes, transfers, so I keep them players. But like Sarah said there, she won this week. So
well done, Sarah. Yeah, that was. There we go.
And I've got to admit, while I've been watching the Fantasy Premier League and stuff like that, what's been going on, I did have a little chuckle at Charlie's and Harrison's teams, because we had 5 people at least with no points whatsoever, and both me, John, and Sarah got onto the fact that we have these benefits to do. 3 points, here we go. But going back to the point before, John, you know when you're saying like the games are going to play in midweek, right?
Yeah.
And you're going to have all these extra games. You're still only eligible for 3 points, though, aren't you? In your matches and stuff like that. So technically, while you're getting the extra points, which is great, it'll get you up your rankings.
Yeah.
You could have won 6 points, but now you're only winning 3.
I had 7 people who did not get any points because they didn't play.
That was great because you were head to head against me this week, Charlie. I was delighted when I saw that yesterday.
I started off with a negative. I'm like, you're kidding me.
I'm kidding.
Do you know what though? Fair, but I was playing Harrison, right, and he was the same. Charlie had a load of players missing. He had all he just weren't playing, but he scored a few points. I think the last time I checked, he was beating average anyway. Let's put it that way. He was beating average players gone. But anyway,
so I'm just going to go back to something we said before, and again, I'm just being. There you go. He's on the wind up.
He is. He's loving it.
Do you want to know something?
Let him enjoy it, though. Let him enjoy it.
What would Nick have done if they'd have beaten you today? That'd have been amazing. Just going back to sort of, I made a point before.
John, before you move on, I'd say what would have happened if they beat us. This show would have been cancelled.
I'd have been talking to myself for an hour.
No, or we could have just blocked Nick.
Block him.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. He'd have to be a glass half full today, wouldn't he? Like, I mentioned about fourth sort of VAR official being Andre Mariner today for the Liverpool Spurs game. Now, strangely enough, and I didn't know this until I've just found a page here where I looked at the match officials for match week. This match week, when I was talking about Granit Xhaka, I hadn't realised that Andre Mariner was the referee at Ellen Road yesterday, where he made an absolute hash. He should have sent Xhaka off and didn't. And again, it was a very similar challenge again to the one that he's ignored from Kane, and then he actually sent Robertson off for. So I'd love to be in that ref's Zoom call meeting tomorrow morning. Where they all sit round and they all get sort of, well, what do we think? And I'd be intrigued to see what Dermot Gallagher puts on Sky tomorrow morning as well. Because actually, I think Andre Mariner has been consistently rubbish all weekend. Because he's missed. He's basically given 3 absolutely howling decisions. And there you go. That's it. I'll let it out there. Can I just also point out, I was really taken by. I listened to the Leeds game on the radio, and the Leeds fans were absolutely outstanding. They were getting beat 4-1, and they were so loud. There was so much backing of the team, and I've got to say, coming from a club where at Everton they're just looking for an excuse to have a dig at Rafa, and then they couldn't do it when we picked up a point at Stamford Bridge on Thursday night, and Leeds were beaten badly yesterday, and let's not sort of hide that fact. They were well beaten. They looked shocking. To be honest, they looked sort of totally dishevelled. They looked short of a plan. They've got a lot of players out injured, but they just looked as if they were well short. And Bielsa has always said that he likes to work with a small squad, and I think they only had 19 players in their actual Premier League squad that they'd named, and it's not enough for them. They had a lad on the bench who was, I think, he was 50, he's the same age as that. Joe was 15, but he's the grandson of Eddie Gray, the son of Andy Gray, the Leeds player, not Andy Gray, the Everton player, and he's the nephew of Frank Gray, something like that. But it's like, this lad is meant to play for Leeds, and he's like 15. And you imagine if I would have just brought him on yesterday, just for the fact that the Gray tradition continues at Leeds. But do you know something as well? Arsenal are looking half decent. Arsenal are actually looking as if they've actually found a way of getting results. and it's without Aubameyang. Get rid of Aubameyang, play your young lads, and they look outstanding. Martinelli, Saka, and Smith Rowe just scoring for fun. They're brilliant.
Arsenal always looks outstanding until they play the top four. It's like then they get spanked.
Yeah, even we beat them, Charlie. They went to Goodison. They got rolled over at Goodison, so they can't be that good. But I tell you what, they're well worth their place. They're now top four, I think, aren't they? And I think that's quite telling, given the fact that once again, and I come back to this point again and again, the Arteta out movement, the Rafa out movement, keep sort of rearing the ugly head, and yet the team at Leeds had an entire crowd who were completely behind the team, and I love that. I love that fact that. Yeah, you're getting beat, but you're still willing your team to get back in the game. And then, it was a sound to behold. It really was, and I think there's a few clubs that could be doing with it. How Bielsa goes, I'm not so sure. He's lauded as being this great tactician, this great coach, this great man who's going to take Leeds to bigger and better things, but they look short, and it's not just injuries that they don't have a system. And I think, as you guys correctly predicted at the start of the season, that second season in the Premier League is actually beginning to bite them quite badly. I think I predicted them to finish top 8 because I felt that Bielsa was going to be able to provide something different. They're getting picked apart really, really easy. They're getting picked apart because teams know how to play against Leeds.
Well, it's hard to predict things with injuries too. I think a huge part with Leeds. So many people are hurt. But I actually had them finishing 8th this season. But again, now not so much. You'll be lucky if they break the top 10 because all the injuries.
Yeah, I think looking at that bottom of the table. Just because I haven't heard it.
I think touching on what you said there, John, I think the guys at Sky yesterday were talking on it, and Graham Souness were touching on it as well. As Bielsa is, he's lauded as a great tactician, but he only has one way of playing. He cares more about the performance than the result.
Yeah.
So he wanted the type of way of playing, like playing from the back, which was quite suicidal at times yesterday.
Yeah.
And then he's got injuries, so why is that not the right time to try and adapt your tactics, not play the way you normally play? I think we were saying it. I know I was saying it at the start of the season with Arteta. He's playing the way he wants to play rather than to the strengths of the team.
Yeah.
Where Arteta's now found a way to play some part of the way he wants to play and get the strength out of the team. And dropping Aubameyang seems to be a great thing. So Aubameyang doing whatever he did, I don't know what he did, to get himself dropped out of the team is actually worked in a positive way for Arsenal. But Bielsa seems to just be stubborn. He's very, very stubborn, But the Leeds fans, like you say, are very loyal. They'll stick behind him, and they won't move. I'll come on to the Everton fans because I said something in the chat the other day about Everton fans. It's like for some Everton fans, including yourself, John. It's like, well, we've got to get behind the manager, and he can do right. He will do things wrong, but he can do right.
Yeah.
With some people, I was watching the comments from the Chelsea results, which I thought was a brilliant result. I had one eye on that game while I was watching the Liverpool game.
Yeah.
But I thought defensively, and the keeper was unbelievable against Chelsea. He was really immense.
Yeah.
I think that's the game of his life. I don't think he'll ever have that game of his life. I don't. But, it was times, though, when you actually got on the ball and you caused Chelsea problems, and I thought they were great. I thought that was really good. But then I was looking at the comments, and it was like, oh, it's Pickford that's got us that point. Oh, it's bad tactics, it's this. And I just thought, and I said it in the chat, I thought, it doesn't, for some of the Everton fans, it's like, Rafa can't do right for doing right.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And you get that, and I understand why some Everton fans are like that because he's ex-Liverpool and all that, you know what I mean? It's like, but he's not ex-Liverpool, he's Everton. He's Everton's manager. But going back to Leeds, it's Bielsa needs to learn how to play to his team's strengths. Like Arteta's learned at such a young age as well. He's learned to do that, and he's getting the rewards. So I think they're going to finish the top 4. I don't know now. I think they're good contenders for it now.
Yeah, they just look good. They're actually playing a decent brand of football, and that's, I think we're all agreed on that. We want to watch entertaining football, and Arsenal seem to be the team that sort of reorganised themselves very, very quickly from that October international break, where they were kind of a little bit rudderless. They were a little bit sort of unsure how they were going to play. And I would also add another team that when we got to the October break, that were a little bit rudderless and a little bit sort of 4 points behind Chelsea, who were previously top of the league, is Man City. And there we have City now have turned that around. They put themselves in a run of games where they're now got, they're now was it 6 points clear of Chelsea. So they've turned around a 10-point deficit in the space of must be about sort of 7 game weeks. And I must admit, Pep was really funny because he came out, they beat Newcastle 4-0. And what did he say? We were lucky. Oh my goodness, lucky to win 4-0. But they're another one. I think if you're, again, looking at fantasy football, you've got Ruben Diaz and Cancelo who've basically banged in the goals for them today. Massive points for those people who were in on Cancelo, my son included. And I went for Laporte because I do that type of thing. You choose the wrong defender, don't you? But again, Newcastle just look that little bit scary. They need to spend well in January, and they need reinforcements.
They're not saving the season, John. For me, they're relegated. I've been getting involved with a few of the Newcastle fans on Twitter about it because I think, some people were saying today on Twitter about, well, Steve Bruce, the quality, the games, the points, and then Eddie Howe, the games, the points. I think some people are saying that are quite missing the trick for me because Newcastle's problem was never the manager; it was the quality, but it was also the manager. It was it was a holy trinity of wrong things going on with that club: owners, manager, quality on the pitch. Yeah. They've got new owners, right? They've changed Eddie Howe. Is it an upgrade in quality? Slightly. I don't rate Eddie Howe in the same way I do with other up-and-coming managers. I think he's a good manager and he can get the team playing the right way.
Yeah.
What Eddie Howe has in his locker is when Newcastle go down, and I'm saying when, not if, I'm going to put that and boldly make that statement, is Newcastle are getting relegated this season, but they've got in Eddie Howe a manager that knows how to get out the Championship.
And get out the Championship quickly as well.
The Championship quickly, yeah. So you've got that. So for me, it sounds like look. The jury's got to be out for the owners at the minute. They can't be worse than Mike Ashley. They really can't. But the jury's got to be out. They've got the money. They've got the money. But hey, Liverpool had the money through the 1990s, and we spent a lot more than most teams and didn't come anywhere near the title or anything like that. So it's about It's not just about spending money; it's about spending it right. So for me, I think the owners have come in, bought it, and went, we're in a bad position on the pitch. There's not a manager in the world that's going to be able to get them out of that. We'd have to renew the whole team. We can only spend. I think the maximum they can spend in January is 200 million, but that impacts on what they're going to be able to spend in future transfer windows because of the FFP rules. So I think they've done quite a shrewd thing in getting Eddie Howe in and saying, right, okay, you're going to be able to get us playing in the right way, and I'll be able to back it in the market in January and in the summer. But they know that he's going to be able to get them straight out the Championship.
But it's got to be seen as that slow rolling process rather than perhaps, you look at the way City was built. City the rebuilding at City happened when they weren't a Premier League club. It happened way beyond then, and I think for a lot of people, you've got to actually look with Newcastle that you're not going to change that starting 11 in January. like it or not. You know, and it is what it is for them. You know, they've got money, but it's got to be seen as a long-term project. And this again goes back to what I keep harping on about. And I know I'm like a stuck record about this. You can't keep chopping and changing managers. You can't keep chopping and changing the personnel that you have within your club, be it on the pitch or off the pitch, at the drop of a hat because you've lost 3, 4, 5 games in a row. You've got to stick it through long term. And if that means going down to the Championship and rebuild it, then irrespective of who you are, and I said this a few weeks ago, even if it happened to Everton, it would actually be something that's quite healthy. If it happened to any club, it ends up having to be a healthy thing. If you're not strong enough as a club, you end up like the likes of Sunderland. You end up in that wilderness for a number of years. Leeds were there for over 10 years. You know, it's got to be seen as being a rebuilding job rather than just oh bother, we're being relegated. Let's press the panic button. Let's change the manager again. Let's buy in some more players. It's wrong. You've got to look totally at the whole structure of the club.
And I don't think you're going to get that from Newcastle, John. And like you were saying before, the Leeds fans getting behind the team, getting beat 4-0. The Newcastle fans the last couple of weeks getting sub-hammerings as well. But they've been behind the team, you know. And the chanting of the hour's name as well. What do you think of this, Charlie? What's your thoughts?
Well, I was thinking, it's like, what type of talent are they going to draw when they know that they're going to be relegated? Or in the Championship, what talent's going to want to go there and spend a year or two before they get promotion? It's like, if they're going to grab anybody, you would think that this window would be the time that they grab anyone with any type of talent. If they have $200 million to spend in January, then I don't understand why they couldn't get 1 or 2 very impactful players this January that fits House system going forward. He must have a system in mind that he wants to go forward with by now, you would think.
Yeah.
And just okay, let's get 2 key players that will forward that system to the next step and maybe get them out of relegation. That's if they don't do it this January, that I see it not happening for another 3 years till the next time they get promotion. Then they'll get people, okay, now we have the money, they have promotion, they're in. But who would want to go before then? That's my question.
It's a good one, Charlie, for me, and it's one that the Newcastle fans need to get to grip with themselves. Because, like John says, it's a building job. So when you build from the bottom up. So you got to put your foundations in, then you put your brickwork in, then you put the roof on, don't you? The roof is the ultimate winning the championships and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I was on through our shared Twitter account. I was talking to one particular Newcastle fan this week, and he was saying, "Go and get Alfie and Garland." I went, "Well, yes, you've got the money, you can afford them, but is Alfie and Garland going to come?" No, he isn't, because for the exact same reason you just said there, Charlie, he's not going to come to a team that's going to get relegated to the second tier. Why would he do that to his career? He's not going to do that. So what Newcastle?
His agent won't allow that to happen because he wants him to play in Champions League football. Yeah, so
like that, and that's where he deserves to be. But Newcastle, you're exactly right, Charlie. And what you're saying is you've got to get the talent in that's suited to the level they're at now. So who did they go for? In January. They go for the players that they think might save them from the relegation. They've got to go for that. They've got to do that, but they've got to look at it in the long term and go, well, is this player going to be happy to play in the Championship to get us back up? And for me, there's players that are good enough to sit at the top of the Championship and the lower levels of the Premier League, and they're the quality of player you look for. Yeah. And you don't need to throw tens of millions and hundreds of millions of pounds at them players. But because you know you're rich and you know you got the money, they're going to want that money, aren't they? Because it's the biggest payday they'll get.
If it's me, I'm starting with those players that are just outside the starting 11 on teams like Liverpool, on teams like Man City, who are sick of being on the bench. They really, really want to play, and they have a drive to play, and they would rather leave for playing time than to sit to get a trophy when someone else is earning that trophy. Those are the players you have to go after. They're hungry. They think that they should be in the starting 11, but they're not getting the playing time. They would be the type that they're very hungry and they want to prove themselves. And if they're going to some place like Newcastle with all the money, they know in 5 years they could be the next Man City. So
yeah, exactly.
I see that happening.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah. Can I just also bring up the fact there's been a big weekend in Scotland for football, and I know we mentioned about Andy Robertson being Scotland manager, Scotland's captain.
That's 10 years from now.
What I would love to say, what I would love to say, some of the most stupidest of things that when you look at something in football and you just can't understand how something happens, right? So Kilmarnock, who were in the Scottish Championship, they had a game yesterday. It got abandoned because of the fog, right? But the game was abandoned. But then after the game, they decided to sack the manager. So you have a game that's abandoned. You sack your manager, who the week before was like perfectly all right to take the seat. I'm just like, I've never heard it. It's just absolutely crazy. It's absolutely crackerjack. It really is.
It doesn't matter how he did in that game. He was getting the sack. So why not just
sack him on Wednesday or Thursday? Put him out of his misery. It's just like it's absolutely crackers. But you wait until the game gets fogged off. It's just absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, that made me chuckle. It really did.
Well, I didn't see that one. That's a good one. There. That's a good one. It is. Now we've got about 8 minutes left before the hour's up. So there's only been 4 games. I think we spoke about all 4 games. I was going to rant on the Liverpool one anyway, and Nick's had his enjoyment on that one.
Can I just quickly mention Chelsea? Because Chelsea, I think we mentioned it last week, and then Everton also took advantage of Chelsea's sort of downturn in form in midweek. But Chelsea they just look totally short up front. All of a sudden, from being a team that was, like I said earlier in the show, there were 4 points clear of City and all that. They're now 10 points. They've let a 10-point differential slip. And they just look really poor. I don't know for what reason. I don't know they've had 2 draws, 2 wins and a loss in the past 5 games. And that's not going to keep you in touch with Liverpool and Man City, is it?
I think they've dropped points in 5 out of the last 8 games, John.
Yeah.
They're in a bit of a rut, and I think I touched on it, or one of us touched on it last week or the week before. That while it was all going good and they were keeping clean sheets and they were nicking the odd goal here and getting the wins, I don't think they've ever looked great going forward. I don't think the goal scoring this season's been great for them. What's been getting them to this position is the defence. But now they've started shipping in goals. Now, I was a little bit worried this week because the thing I said last week is the reason it's ever since I put Mendy in me fantasy league that he went absolutely diabolical. And I took him out this week and kept the clean sheet, but at least
a clean sheet from him. That's even better.
So I don't know what's going on. I'm sure they'll get out of it. But what I'm not expecting is them to go on this big, great scoring run because they haven't done it. But what I will expect them to do is go back to being solid at the back, and that'll get them. But they're not going to climb that 6-point differential they got now with City. I mean, we had a tough game today with Spurs. We deserve to get the points and no more. Spurs deserve to get the points and no more. So I think that was the right result on all the grand scheme of it. But they were away to Wolves, and we were away to Wolves a couple of weeks ago, and we nicked the goal right at the end. So we know how difficult it is to go there. But going forward, we at least with likes of Liverpool and City, they look like they can score with virtually every attack. With Chelsea, it really is lacking. I don't see them challenging the title. I see them challenging Liverpool for second spot. I think I'm going to stick with my prediction and say City are going to win the league. This is where City kick on now, and I think City will kick on through January. I think by the end of January, City will have a bigger lead over Liverpool and Chelsea than then Liverpool will have us.
I know I harp on about it.
Yeah, that's why he's doing that. I don't want to hear.
No.
I was very privileged to share a conversation with Brian Marwood, who's one of the technical directors at City, and basically all Pep. And I said this one of the shows end of September, start of October. But they basically said City are just basically they write off the first couple of months. Let's just see where we're at. Let's get everybody rested. Let's get everybody back into the City fold. I think the De Bruyne catching COVID probably set him back 2 or 3 weeks. They just look immense. They've got replaceable players. He rested Foden, much to my disgust today. He's in my fantasy team. This is part of Pep's plan. It's basically, let's get to Christmas, let's see where we're at, and then let's kick on from there. I think they're probably laughing at the fact that they're top of the league for Christmas, because I don't honestly think that they expected to be in that position. I think probably they'd expected Chelsea to be top of the league. I certainly did. I know I said that Chelsea was, my prediction was that Chelsea was going to win the league, because I was based on them winning the Champions League, and I felt that they really should have been pushing on from that experience. And it's as if that's just run out of steam for them. I think they've run out of that euphoric high of winning the Champions League, of actually proving that they're tactically better than City. You know, and they went through that spell, didn't they? The back end of last season, where they picked Pep's sort of tactics apart in 2 or 3 games. But it's not working at the minute, and I know they've got injuries, I know they've got players out, but you've got to remember it's Chelsea. They've spent more money than any other club, probably except Everton, obviously, on players, and I was actually expecting a little bit more from them, and I think I know I like Thomas Tuchel. I think he's very honest man. I like what he said. Yeah, thank you, Harrison. I'm looking forward to that. This is going to be interesting. But yeah, just the last word. I think we've just got this little cloud appearing, which is going to impact upon a lot of games, possibly over Christmas, possibly over New Year, possibly into the new year, which is not good. I think Tuchel was very direct in what he said today, because he actually said if it's all about protecting your players and actually postponing games, then Chelsea actually they had a real bad, I think a bad call made on them today, because I actually felt that their game should have been postponed, because they lost a couple of players this morning who'd been on the bus with other players. It's an ever-changing thing, and after yesterday's farce when Villa and Burnley was postponed, was it an hour and 50 minutes before kickoff? And you're like, come on, you can do better than that. And also I heard on the radio today, because I was listening to a little bit about the Celtic Hibs Scottish League Cup game, but John McGinn, Aston Villa centre midfield player, was in the middle of Hampden watching either his cousin or his brother or something. But I'm thinking, hang on a minute, where does this bubble that Premier League football teams are meant to have actually stop? Because he's just gone and sat in a massive football stadium in a different country, because he went to Scotland. Where does that sit? I don't know. I know there's a massive meeting tomorrow with the Premier League clubs. We might get a little bit more of an answer then. I think I think all of us would just hope is that it's fair for every single team, and it's not just whoever shouts the loudest or bleats the most about, I've got so many players out.
As the England captain.
Yes. Yeah. Captain of England's got to play.
Yeah. Spot on.
No, I think that's right. And do you know what, right? For me, it's a case of, Liverpool got it today with a few COVID. Our midfield was non-existent. Our whole midfield got wiped out with it. You got the Chelsea situation as well. They asked to get it and they got denied. It does seem to be a little bit ambiguous of what the Premier League are looking for before they say, well, yeah, you can postpone the game or put it on to another time. But I want to bring a perspective from another sport, and it's from the land of Charlie, where Charlie is from America. And I was watching one of the NFL chat shows on one of the TV channels you got over there. Yep. And they were talking about the NFL, right? They're getting hit with all this Omicron variant of the COVID as well. They're quite getting badly hit with it. But what they have in the NFL is a backup team. They have like do you remember back in the 1980s, John, when we used to have Liverpool reserves, Everton reserves, and stuff like that? And those teams could come in and do it. They were separated and stuff like that, and they got rid of in the 1990s and brought in the kids. But the NFL still have these reserve teams like that they can call upon, so they can go right. You got a few players getting it with this COVID, so you can call these players up. So really, it's going to take a big amount of players in the NFL before an NFL game is called off. But I was actually listening to what he said, and I think the guy on the TV channel that made a good point. It is a factual, known fact. It's known scientifically, known fact that when you are outside, you have less than 1% chance of catching off someone, right? Yeah. Because the transmission rate is so much lower than when it is indoors. So what the guy was saying was, well, okay, then, if these NFL guys who are testing positive, but they're asymptomatic, they're not feeling the symptoms of it. Now, I don't know. I'm not going to say I agree with them or disagree with them. I'm just going to put it out there and say, what he said was, well, you're outside and you've got a really low chance of catching it. Why can't these guys play? Why can't they play? You're outside, you're asymptomatic. It's very small chance that you're going to pass it on to that other player.
And those rapid tests, those rapid tests that they're taking too. There's only a certain percentage that they're correct too. You know, so you can get false negatives, false positives all the time. Yeah. You know, the only ones that are really supposedly have a reliable accuracy is the ones that take 2 or 3 days to get the results back. So these rapid tests that they're doing all over the place, how many people are getting? I'm going to push this back towards football, guys, because actually Everton, when they played Chelsea on Thursday night, we ended up playing Jared Branthwaite at centre back, Ellis Sims and Lewis Dobbin played up front. Both made their Premier League debuts. We named only 7 subs, 2 of whom were goalkeepers. And that's for an away game at Chelsea. So, Leeds again yesterday were in a similar position. They're picking really young kids. We were not deemed as being a COVID-related experience because it's a lot of injuries. But there comes a time where actually there needs to be some sort of clarity on this. And I'm hoping the meeting tomorrow does that. And I'm with you, Steve. And I think with the Americans, as always, they lead the way in actually ensuring that the games go ahead and not hiding behind, And I think Chelsea again today to complain about not having enough players. Well, how many players did Chelsea actually need? They've got more players. They've got like 3. I think they've got about 3 teams worth of players out on loan to play. To clubs throughout Europe. It's.
John, they still had one of the strongest teams out against Wolves, by the way. Where Liverpool today, I don't want to take anything away from Spurs. I really don't think it was the right result. But we were decimated in midfield. We lost a lot of our good players in midfield, and games are won and lost in midfield, by the way. So this is what I want to understand is, do you know what, right? If the Premier League and the people in the UK want to go down the road of, look, we've got to be scared of this Omicron variant, I'm not going to point my personal view on that. But if they're going to go down that road and they want to do it, then do it. And if we've got to miss a week of football, fine, do it. Yeah. Just do it. If that's what you feel is the right thing. But all I'll say to that is lockdowns and shutdowns have been proven not to work. Yeah. We're vaccinated. Vast majority of people are vaccinated. I disagree with Klopp's and LFC's stance on the unvaccinated players, by the way. even though I'm
with you,
and I'm getting me boosted on New Year's Eve, people have a right to decide whether what they put into their body. Yeah. You shouldn't dictate to that. But we've got to get on with this now. This is something that has, and I looked at the numbers, right? And we have here in the UK from the start of the pandemic, is we have a 98 to 99% survival rate. And that's based against the ones we know who have got it, against the people who have died within 28 days of being positive. It doesn't mean he died because of COVID. Now, yeah. So I'm going to put that out there. And, you know, going to shoot me and get on me and shoot at me. But I'm going off facts. And what we need to understand is, I get it. People, I understand people being scared. And do you know what? I don't want people to be scared. And I'm as much as it is my choice to go out and get vaccinated and my choice to say I don't believe the measures are the right measures, I also respect the people who say, do you know what? It's my choice not to get vaccinated. It's also, I also believe in the people who say it's my choice to say, you know, Stephen, you're wrong, and we should be putting these measures in place because that's what we live in. We live in a free democratic society, and we've got to understand it's not no one's right to being free trumps the other person's right to be free either. So let's get on with it. Let's find a way forward. Let's see what the Premier League clubs come out with tomorrow. If they go like let's have a couple of weeks off, fine. Let's have a couple of weeks off. Then get on with it, right?
Well, let's just take it one step further. You know.
Yeah, but we've got a fixture list in England where the next lot of fixtures are due next Sunday. Where and then most of the clubs play again on the Tuesday. So you've got like a Sunday and Tuesday turnaround, which are, for a long time, a lot of clubs have complained about it being too difficult for the players. I like it. I love Boxing Day football. I love the fact that, you know, there's loads of games that are on the telly, and I think it'd be a real shame if we are made to suffer in that way. And I'm with you, Stephen. I think it's everybody's choice. What's interesting is how few Premier League footballers have been vaccinated, but that's their choice. Totally their choice.
Exactly, and it should. When a player go, I just want to add something else. Because I've seen a few comments on Twitter today about it, and I just want to put something out there and say, do you know what? When you go for a medical for a football team, your medical is based on your physical ability to play the game. Yeah. There is no way that any club anyone should say, I want to know what your personal medication is. I want to know what your personal medical record is. Because once we start condoning that, we're going down a really, really dark path. We need to fight against that and say no. While I respect people who say they don't want to get the vaccination, I don't understand it myself because it's something I'm for. I'm not an anti-vaxxer in any way, but I'm with you. I stand by it. If you don't want to get vaccinated, don't get vaccinated. That's your choice. You can do that, and I'll stand there and fight for your freedom to do that. But don't come out and say you're against one kind of discrimination, but you're for this type of discrimination. Because to say I'm not signing players, I don't want to sign players because they're not vaccinated, is a form of discrimination for me. And also, I'll just say this: vaccination doesn't stop the transmission. It stops the severity of the virus. That's it.
Yeah. So, on that happy note, what I would also add is we had a production meeting because actually, guys, we do plan what we're doing on it. But because of the Christmas break, the New Year break, and obviously how it falls over the next fortnight, we've decided that in order to make most of whatever comes of the football fixtures, we're gonna have a midwinter break, which is again Jurgen Klopp's gonna be so jealous of us because we're gonna go to we're all off to Dubai for our midwinter break. I wish. But it'll be, I think is it the weekend? It's the weekend of the FA Cup that we will return in the new year in 2022. And looking in my diary, it is Sunday the 9th of January.
It is, yeah.
Is when we return. So again, all I would say to everybody who watches this show is just have a damn good Christmas. Go and enjoy yourself. Have a few beers. Enjoy the football if there is any. If there isn't any, let's all watch the American football because that's getting to the business end of the season.
Playoffs now, isn't it?
It's getting closer, I think. Yeah, it's just So plenty of stuff to watch. We're not watching the cricket because that's just diabolically just Australian. There you go, Sarah. Birthday weekend. So happy birthday to you, Sarah.
Yeah. So now you know how hard I have it at this time of the year, John. I've got Christmas next weekend. We've got the New Year the weekend after, and we've got Sarah's birthday the weekend.
There you go.
Give me a fortune.
Serenaded.
Yeah, it's our last one. Last one for 1, 2, 3 weeks. 3 weeks.
As many as that. Goodness.
I don't know what I'm going to do with me Sunday evening. I don't know what I'm going to do.
I tell you what, it'd be interesting to see what happens in those 3 weeks when we're off, and when we do come back. I think we'll have a few stories to tell about whatever's happening in this country, whatever's happening in your country, Charlie. And no matter what, if we've got no football to talk about, we can at least have a good rant like Stephen did about numbers and lockdowns and whatever.
No.
Whatever could happen.
I'm sorry about that rant. It's just I'm all for protecting people and doing the right thing and getting it all done. If society wants us to go down one way, let's go and do it. And you want us to wear masks in shops again, I'll wear masks in shops again. It's not a problem. I'm all for the vaccination. It's just when people come out and attack those who don't hold them views, you're holding a different view to me, and yet I'm standing by it and saying, I agree that you're allowed to have that view. You shouldn't be discriminated against, and I think that's the thing I was trying to get at there. It was like, I don't agree in people discriminating against and people just simply because they hold a different view to you. I think it's wrong.
It is. Right. Come on, we're well over time.
Massively. But do you know what?
I've got Christmas cards tonight.
Oh, I know. But I don't know what I'm going to do for the next 3 Sundays. It's just going to be weird. It's going to be strange. But do you know what? Thanks for everyone who's tuned in. Thanks to everyone who's tuned in for this whole year and supported us and got involved and I'll just come and watched and listen to what we're saying.
Happy New Year.
Party.
Well, to everyone, Merry Christmas and all the best for 2022. And we'll see you then. Bye.
We'll see you real soon. Cheers, guys.
Bye-bye.